Okay, Broncos country, looks like we are live, but you guys know the drill by now. We've got to let the stream breathe for just a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country, to this Denver Broncos Syndicate live stream. I'm your host, Gage Madrid. We're going to start letting some people stream on in here. While we do, if you could just do me a big favor and leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a channel member today. The link is in the description below if you want some extra perks and incentives in exchange for helping me out, helping the channel grow, and helping improve the production quality of this content. So, Broncos country is a bit divided right now. Even though we're on a bye week, there are some games that have implications for the Denver Broncos heading into the playoffs. None more important than the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Do the Broncos root for the Colts to lose? That way they have a better shot at the #1 seed. Or do they root for the Chiefs to lose? That way the Chiefs have a really tough time in order to make the playoffs. It's a topic of conversation here in Denver that I don't really know exactly where Broncos country is leaning because it feels like it's pretty split down the middle right now. So we're going to go ahead and make an argument for both sides here in this stream, and we're going to assess what is probably the best path for the Denver Broncos moving forward. So let's go ahead and get into it here. We've got Q in the house saying, "Hi, Gage. Good to see you, Q. Hope you are doing well." I want to go ahead and bring in this tweet here from Zach Seegers. With a loss this weekend, Kansas City would have about a 1 in 3 chance of reaching the postseason. Seeing this chart right here, if Kansas City were to lose, their chances would go down to 35%. But if Kansas City were to win, their chances would go all the way up to 68%. I don't think there are very many teams out there that want to see the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. However, on the other side of things, with a Kansas City win, Denver has a greater than 1 in 3 chance of automatically advancing to the second round of the postseason. So it cuts both ways here. Do you want Kansas City gone? I can understand the argument of never wanting to root for a division rival's success. I completely understand it. I respect it. And that's a main reason why I think a lot of people in Broncos country are not going to be rooting for the Chiefs in this game. However, there's also another side of it where, do you want the Denver Broncos to have the best possible outcome for them? Or is your hatred for a division rival so deep that you would rather have a worse outcome for the Broncos so that way the division rival could also have a worse outcome? I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer here, quite frankly. But I want to go ahead and bring in this argument from Joe Rowells. I know he's a very controversial follow on Twitter. He calls it like he sees it, for better or for worse. And I agree with this point here from Joe. If the Broncos win out, they have an almost 100% chance at the 1 seed. They control that. If the Chiefs lose to the Colts, they're in do or dead mode. He's rooting for that. This is probably the best argument for me because the Broncos should take care of their own business. They should be able to win out. If not win out, they should be able to win their next 4 games and put them in a position where their final 2 games of the regular season, quite frankly, might not matter. That is in the Denver Broncos cards. They can do that. However, there's the other side of it where you've got the Indianapolis Colts and the New England Patriots, who are both your biggest competition for the #1 seed. They've got some losable games on their schedule, even outside of this Chiefs game for Indianapolis. They've got the 49ers and the Seahawks. The Patriots have the Bills and the Ravens. So realistically, if Denver takes care of business on their own and New England and Indianapolis, they lose some of these games organically, the Denver Broncos could have the #1 seed just by doing their own thing and taking care of their own business. So I think this is probably the best argument here, and it's for that reason I am going to root for the Indianapolis Colts to win this game. I do want to get your collective opinions here, Broncos country. Equilibrius says, come on, man, go Colts. Steve says Colts. Broncos Tube says, I'm going for the Chiefs to lose. I want the Chiefs not to make the playoffs. I would rather see the Colts in the Super Bowl than the Chiefs. So for that reason, I'm rooting for the Colts. I also think the Colts still drop another game or two. That's very possible. Again, that Seattle game, San Francisco, even some of their division games aren't easy. If Houston has their stuff together, I want to say the Colts still play Houston twice. So there definitely are some losable games here on the Colts schedule, and the same goes for the New England Patriots. Zondog says Colts lose. So listen, man, there's arguments for both sides here, and I don't think it's right or wrong either way, but I know collectively here in Broncos country, it's going to be a really hard sell for people to root for the Kansas City Chiefs to win. Originally, I was in team Kansas City win, Indianapolis loss, because I'm more interested in the Denver Broncos getting the number 1 seed, and quite frankly, I'm not afraid of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Broncos have proven they are a better football team than the Kansas City Chiefs, and the game would be here in Denver if Kansas City were to play the Broncos in the playoffs. So I'm not afraid of that. However, I want the Broncos to earn the number 1 seed. I want them to go out there and take it themselves. So that's why I kind of agree with Joe's point here. We got Anderson saying Colts lose, but KC still missed the playoffs. Best of both worlds. And again, I completely understand that one as well. Roan says, yo, good to see you. Hope you were doing well. Sorry, that was Anderson that said Colts lose right there. Celestino says, so happy we played them so tough. And if we happen to go against them, we got revenge on our minds and for that 1 point devastating loss to them Colts. For sure, man. And I do feel like the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts might have a chance to meet up in the playoffs. If there's a fear out there that the Broncos don't want to see a team like the Chiefs, for example, because they're afraid of them, because the Chiefs might get hot in the playoffs, then quite frankly, Denver shouldn't even be in the playoffs to begin with. You shouldn't be afraid of the opponent who's in front of you. I'm not afraid of the Colts. I'm not afraid of the Chiefs. I'm not afraid of really anybody in the AFC. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, that can get a little bit scary at times, but I'm still not afraid of them either. I think the Denver Broncos are a well-built, well-constructed roster that could beat anybody in the playoffs. Sorry, I already got that one. David says, we want the number 1 seed. I want the number 1 seed too. And quite frankly, I want the Broncos to go earn the number 1 seed. I want them to take it for themselves. I don't want them to back into it. I don't want them to feel like they just got it because other teams didn't take care of their business. I want the Denver Broncos to go out and win at least these next 4 games in a row. That way, when we get to the final 2 games that are both division games, they might not matter. Denver could already have the number 1 seed locked up by that point. So that's what I'm rooting for. I want the Broncos to go take it themselves. I just care about the 1 seed with how unpredictable this season has been in the AFC with all the parity, for sure. For sure. So I'm seeing opinions on both sides here. It's either number 1 seed no matter what, or they don't want Kansas City to make it. Hopefully, things work out both ways. Hopefully, Kansas City loses some games down the line, maybe to the Chargers, maybe to one of their other opponents. I only think Kansas City can afford to drop 1 game moving forward. I don't know if 9-8 is going to make it into the playoffs. So if Kansas City wins this Colts game, and then maybe they drop a couple more games, that could knock them out. And then Indy could be knocked out too. So really, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer here. But I am going to be rooting for the Indianapolis Colts to win this game. And yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of other people in Broncos country that are going to be rooting for the same thing. We got Beck in the house saying, let's go. Broncos can beat the Colts all day. They were a penalty away from beating them earlier this year. And I think if they were to match up again, Denver would win the game. Denver is a better football team than the Colts right now. And I think they have a better quarterback as well. That's another very important thing. We need to take care of ourselves and everything else will fall into place. Absolutely. As long as Denver takes care of their own business, they should be the number 1 seed. If Denver drops some games between now and then quite frankly, they don't deserve to be the number 1 seed. I believe if the Pats win out and the Broncos win out, the Pats would have one more conference game than us and be ahead of us. So we would need the Pats to lose another game or two, which I do anticipate they will. Again, they've got Baltimore and they've got Buffalo on the schedule. I don't think the Pats are going to win out. That's probably not going to happen. And even if they do, so Denver would need a little bit of help there, but I don't see it, quite frankly. As long as Denver takes care of their business, they should be able to come away with the number 1 seed. All right, Broncos country, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to wrap this up, just a quick little 10-minute live stream. Before we get out of here, if you could just leave a like as well as subscribe and consider becoming a channel member, I would really appreciate all of those. They help me out tremendously. They support me directly, and it helps grow the channel as well. All right, guys, and until next time, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.